Hello and welcome back to another session. And today we will be discussing about Microsoft Cloud App Security. So Microsoft Cloud App Security is part of the entire Microsoft 365 suite, where it's a cloud app security broker. Let me just give you a quick idea about cloud app security or CASB in general. When you have your organizations from any location, your policies and all your policies are enforced within the organization. But what happens when it connects to cloud solutions like Box or Dropbox or anything of that kind? Can your policies still have that enforcement, still protect your data to enable the data leakage prevention policies? And also, another thing is, how do you look at shadow IT? For example, your organization might have a different set of applications run by the organization from the business team. Uh, Having a system like Cloud App Security gives you that full end-to-end view of what's happening in your organization. So the top CASB use cases are, as I mentioned before, is to discover your cloud apps, any application that is within your organization that's been used and not sanctioned by IT. Now you can control based on your sanction and unsanctioned apps, and then integrating with Microsoft Defender, you can actually control every application that runs in your organization. So part of the apps will be discover the cloud apps and then assess if your cloud apps meet your compliance requirement, and then govern your discovered apps. That's one part. And then you can classify, label and protect, and control and monitor. Apart from that, you can actually detect insider threats and compromised account by integrating your CASB or Cloud App Security to Microsoft Azure. So you get a full end-to-end view on your users, your devices, your entities. So Cloud App Security is a good place to start when you want to look at protecting and get that right information about your entire organization. So this is a shadow IT management lifecycle from Microsoft, and this is a recommended approach starting with your phase one of discover and identity, where you discover your shadow IT applications. Um, Microsoft Cloud App Security has a catalog of around 17,000 cloud apps and counting, and a lot of custom apps. So by integrating Cloud App Security, you will be able to get that information about who is using what and then what applications are being used, maybe without the knowledge of IT. And then you identify the risk level of your applications, where there are more than 90 risk factors, including security factors, industry, and legal regulations. So when somebody accesses, let's say, WeTransfer or any solutions of that kind, Cloud App Security will assess this application and identify and then tell you what is the level of compliance that it meets. So from there, you can decide then whether you want to sanction the app or unsanction the app or block it. And then there is you can analyze the usage based on traffic, top users, IP addresses, and all such things. And then that's the phase two where you evaluate and analyze. And then finally, you can manage and continuously monitor this thing. You can set up, as I mentioned, you can set up access allow based on sanction apps through Defender integration, and then you continuously monitor entire landscape. So CASB or Cloud App Security uh, will give you a good overview on your entire infrastructure. So let's jump on a quick demo and see how we could use Microsoft Cloud App Security. I'm gonna open Microsoft Cloud App Security dashboard. You can just go to portal.cloudappsecurity.com. It redirects to your own portal. You need to be global administrator on your Office 365 portal to get access to the Cloud App Security. Once it's available, it's by default connects to Office 365. So before getting into the entire configurations. I'll just walk you through the basics of cloud app security. I'll give you all the options what's available, and then maybe on a later video we will look at on a case by case scenario and how to use the combination of cloud app security, Defender antivirus, Azure AD and such to solve real life case scenarios. So this is the dashboard where you have your alerts. Any alerts will be here, your discovered apps and your top users to investigate. Now, and then app connectors. As I mentioned, it already connected to Microsoft 365. So if you click on this, Office 365 is connected. And connecting any app is just simple click from here. So you can see there are many applications already available by default. Let's say we can start with Azure, for example. So connect to Microsoft Azure, which enables instant visibility, protection, governance action. So there you go, your Microsoft Azure is connected. So it's as simple as a click or two. You can connect to pretty much all your services. Now it is scanning the users and will give you some good information on how this is working. Office 365, I think I connected in 2020, probably almost a year ago. So we'll go back to dashboard. We have two apps connected now, and then you have session and configure access session controls, which we'll talk in detail later. And you get your recommendations, your frequent location access, where people are accessing from. So this dashboard gives you a full overview on what's happening in your infrastructure. I'm just looking at the get more insights for your M365 apps. I'm enabling that as well. It's a preview option, so no 365 apps enabled. And then you come to your discover portion, where is your cloud discovery dashboard. So this one will show all the applications that comes. It uses a continuous report from Windows 10 endpoint users. I haven't used much of my apps in this yet, so once I start browsing, and then maybe I can show some of the dashboards once I populate with some data. There you can see your discovered apps, your IP addresses, users and devices. And then you have your app catalog, where you have all the kinds of application that is listed as I mentioned. So every service has its ranking, and then you can sanction or unsanction from here. But you can sanction and unsanction, that's one thing, but if you want to integrate with Defender, you need to enable that integration first. I will show you that as well in a short while. And now investigation, again same thing, all this will be checked based on our labs. But let me just show you. It shows the entire log, what's happening, the active log. For example, I logged in, I deployed the app on Microsoft Azure, so everything available, whatever is did, is available in the logs. And then you have a list of files that you want to monitor, users and accounts. So once it connects to Microsoft Azure, you should get that populated, and then you can see from here more details about your account. So for example, this account is a global admin, an affiliation is an internal account. So you will get more information about the user. And then there is security configuration. So since I connect to Azure, it already started giving me some recommendations that I can follow. For example, in my case, it's asking me to auto provision of log analytics agent. Defender for DNS should be enabled. There are few recommendations that saying what it should be done, and then based on the priority you can complete those things. If you connect to any of the services, it might give you recommendations based on that, and then any OAuth applications that you're connected will be also visible here. As of now, the connected apps, as I mentioned, is Microsoft Azure and Office 365. Then comes the control, where you have the policies and templates. Let me take you to the templates first. So cloud app security as a start is about discovering to understand the things, and then one good thing, one amazing feature of cloud app security is to have that total control or total visibility on what's happening within your users and devices. And you can set up custom policies from the templates. For example, few of my most favorite ones are basically travel. I need to go to the policies. Impossible travel. This is one of my most favorite thing that I use. It's basically what it does is it profiles your environment and then triggers an alert when an activities are detected from the same user in different locations. So for example, let's say I'm working from the United Arab Emirates, and maybe within an hour's time or 30 minutes my account was accessed from London. So either I am connected to a VPN, or maybe my account is compromised and somebody else is accessing from a different country. So setting this policy and setting up alerts based on that, you could actually you can send us an alert, you can send us a text message, and you can also use a custom playbook on Power Automate to get an alerts, let's say on your teams. And you can also add some governance on that. Say, let's say high priority risky countries, if the access is enabled or if the user is accessed from that countries, you can even suspend the user and then select confirm the user compromise. So based on these combinations, you can actually enhance your protection of your data, your users, and then make sure that you're stopping a possible attack as soon as possible. So risky sign-in is such thing, malicious OAuth app consent. So you have a lot of options that you can set and create a policy, create alert rules where you get notification by SMS or emails, which will give you more information, more details, and more control onto your environment. And then you can manage your alerts from here. So you can select the alerts, do some investigations based on that, and then once you can clear the alerts. Now when you go to the settings part, the basic organization details that you can set, your mail settings, if you want to set, you want to use a default mail settings or you want to use a custom settings. You can also design your templates, and then if you want to keep your rules and policies and user groups and everything, you can export the settings from there. Here is where you set your timeout. When the user is inactive for, let's say, 15 minutes, you can let the system sign out from there. And then you have your score metrics, snapshot reports. So you can create a snapshot report from here. Basically, you can select your log information from your firewall, your checkpoint and such, and then you can get this snapshot connected to Cloud App Security, where it can get you a bit more feature-rich information about your environment. That's a good option if you want to look at it. We will try to check these few options on our future videos. Continuous report is also similar. You can get the data sources and then get a user group and IP details and then set up a report. You want to have another data sources, again set your data source from here, and then you can use syslog for sending your data from your firewall and such devices to integrate again into Cloud App Security. I've connected Windows 10 endpoint users using the Defender for Endpoint, so it updates all these details. And then if you want to have some custom tags, you can have your sanctioned, unsanctioned, or any other app tags that you want to have, you can add it here. You can exclude some users or groups or IP addresses so that it will be excluded from cloud discovery for data. And here is your Defender for Endpoint integration. Once you enable this enforce app access, and then based on here you can say, okay, if I unsanction an app, then block it. So you can control your application usage on endpoints through Defender using Cloud App Security. User enrichment is basically enrich discovered user identifier, so you get rich information from the enrolled device and machines and data, which will help you on investigation and troubleshooting. You can also anonymize the data if you want, and there are a few other connectors that you would need to connect. One is the Defender for Identity. Let's try if I can connect Defender for Identity from here. So deploy Microsoft Defender for Identity. There's still a lot of portals that we need to work on when it comes to Microsoft 365. Here, this one is portal.atp.azure.com. So I said create. So the creation failed. It says your instance was not created because a security group with the same name already exists in the Azure Active Directory. Okay, let's look at the security groups. So I think there was some previous users that groups that I added. I have tried to delete some group Azure AD groups from here. Let's try to create again. I think part of the creation is creating those groups, and then because the groups are already available, my Defender for Identity did not got created. I'm assuming that this time it creates. Looks like it worked. So this is why I like to do a real life to me. As I always say, when there's a problem, it's easiest to fix, and then it's a learning for everyone. So we have created a Defender for Identity. Get started. Okay, I think it will take you to the documentation step if I'm not mistaken. Okay, it takes me to the Cloud App Security portal. Okay, it started is again this. Okay, I'll close this one. So it says welcome to Microsoft Defender for Identity. So even if it's a Cloud App Security video, I want to make sure that we integrate this Defender for Identity on the first session so that we get that full view. So follow these steps to complete the deployment. Integration with Cloud App Security has been turned on. Okay, provide a username and password to connect your Active Directory forest. Okay, so this is where you integrate your Defender for Identity onto your Active Directory, where you can get information about users. I have used this portal before. It actually tells you what are the lateral movement paths that is possible, and how to harden this further. You could have a lot more recommendations here. For example, you could have a honeypot account here, honeypot account, where sounds like a name, something like an administrator or something, and then you just keep it there, just to see that if somebody attacks, obviously initially somebody will look at those kind of account names. So then that something is happening in your environment. You could probably a bit more proactive about that. So it's asking about give me the Active Directory username and password, and then it will ask to download a sensor to install on all your Active Directory servers, and then you configure your first sensor. So the Defender for Identity is already configured, but let's proceed with this one now that we are here. Provide a username and password to connect. Okay, so let me open my AD. So what they want is a username and password. So I will create a user. Let's call them uh, Microsoft Defender Identity account, MDI account. Okay, so I created that, the MDI account, and our domain would be dave.ambrishrs.com. And the password is credentials. Save. Next thing is download the sensor setup. So let's download the sensor. So this is basically installing this agent on the Windows domain controllers, where it connects to a Defender for identity and give you that, the rich information that I was talking about. So this is another part. So first thing, once you have your cloud app security, one of the first things that you need to do is to integrate with Defender for identity, install the sensor on your server, and then set up your MDI as part of this. It's a good practice to that. So let me install this, and then I'll come back, and then we'll proceed from there. So I have downloaded the file onto the server. Let's extract it. Okay. Let's open the README on how to install. Okay. It's saying refer this to know how to install the NPCAP. Let's open that. One of my previous mistakes that I always do is not to read the README. I think that's a usual thing with anyone. I guess most of our admin are impatient about this and then just try to find out. But it's good to, just go and find out what's happening here. So let's see. If you haven't installed the sensor, uninstall NPCAP, install NPCAP with the following options. Okay, let's start with NPCAP. Install, agree. Okay. So it says if you are using the GA installer, deselect the loopback support. Yeah, and select WinPCAP mode. Okay, install. Then we'll install the sensor. Let's try installing the sensor now. Okay, accept and install. I'll just speed up the installation so that you wouldn't waste time on looking at it. But I think maybe this is faster. If not, I'll speed up the installation and then bring you back again. So the installation is completed. It is requiring a reboot. We'll do a reboot of the server quickly. And I think during the configuration, you need the access key to be connected, and then you will see the server, the domain controller, and the version and the service status from here. So one good thing about this is when your server stopped communicating, you will get an alert saying the sensor has an issue, and then you can look at it. We'll quickly reboot the server and then come back again. So your Defender for Identity sensor is installed, restarted the server and came back. After restarts, it brought up the wizard, and then I'm gonna go next. Sensor is installed directly on your domain controllers. Click next. Here is your access key. So let's copy paste our access key from here, and then I'll paste access key here, install. Now this is connecting, so your final installation of your ATP sensor is happening now. I would highly recommend to install this MDI agent or sensor on your domain controllers, including your read-only domain controllers. The installation is completed successfully. The server part is over. There you go. You have a server is available here. It just takes some time to get the service status. Okay, so we can see your sensor status is starting now. Nothing much to do from the server side, I believe. If you go to services, you should be able to see Azure ATP sensor. There you go. The sensor is running, your sensor updater is running, and your service status is shows as running. So we have done our Defender for Identity activation. We installed the MDI sensor on domain controllers, and the service status is running. So that's the sensor part. We will enable automatic restart, and if you want to do a delayed update, you can do that. I'm keeping it because it's my test server, so automatic restart is set. But please be careful when you do it on a production system. I'm saving this part. And then look at directory services is enabled. Our sensors are here. Defender for Endpoint integration. We'll integrate Defender for Endpoint. We'll save that as well. That's what I mentioned about the Honey token accounts. You can create a dummy AD account and then just add it. If you have any sensitive users or sensitive groups, you can add it here as well, so that those will become the priority accounts, and then get you can see more information about that accounts and while you do the discovery part. You can also do some exclusions from specific things. One of the case that I've noticed is I use a remote tool called Screen Connect or ConnectWise Control. Now, when the ConnectWise Control software updates, it updates the agent on all the servers where I've installed the remote tool. During that time, it creates a service, and then it says a suspicious service got created. So you can exclude those devices or those services from capturing the information. You can set your languages and notifications. You can set here. Whenever a new alert is triggered, you can set an email ID for here to notify you. You can also use a syslog service to configure here, and then if you want to have a report scheduled and sent to you, you can also schedule here your summary, any modification to sensitive group. So I usually enable all those things. I set alerts and set email IDs so that I know on a daily basis I can go through these details and find out. So for example, any LDAP connections is exposed in clear text. Any lateral movements path to sensitive accounts is all set and scheduled, and you can get the reports. Detections of SMB3 CV is also available here, and I think that's it on the ATP part. Now let's go back to Cloud App Security. So we did Microsoft Defender for Identity integration. Now as you can see here, it's already connected. We have finished our MDI sensor integration. Azure AD integration, you need to use the Office 365 app connector. So again, these are all connections we have connected. So let's go back to settings again. For now, it's only alerts with high severity, but you can edit the policy and change the severity to get more information if you want. And your app governance integration is also enabled. Information protection is something that I want to do as a separate video. There's a lot on Azure information protection and labeling and such. So we'll look at this separately. So that's the basic settings of Cloud App Security. So let's leave it here. Let it populate all the information, and then we'll come back. I'll do some browsing, I'll install some applications so we can see how and when the dashboard comes, what do you see. And with that, we'll close the session and then look at more targeted scenarios and how to do things on Cloud App Security as well. So as mentioned before, I have installed some applications, some cloud applications, and then checked after some time to see if my cloud discovery dashboard is populated. And as you can see, now that it took some time, it captured all the applications, the IP address, the users. It started populating all the information, like what kind of traffic is being used, what's data. And as you can see, I've installed Dropbox and SugarSync and WeTransfer. So this way, now you get a clear idea on what kind of access is being used from each machine, and then you get a better view and full control on complete visibility on your network or infrastructure, and then you can manage and control your setup using Cloud App Security. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be back with more videos. So I'll be doing some specific sessions on scenarios, and then we'll see how we can, by combining the use of Cloud App Security, Intune, MEM and such, fix and solve those challenges. Stay tuned, and thank you so much. Take care, stay safe.